should talk to Trump's legal team. You should show the episode during court or something.
They are special, aren't they?
It is wild. I mean, saw that the way they're falling, it's like
they're just flipping left, right, and they're all crying and acting as if they had no idea. You know, I think I had
posted see the
on
forest
Twitter
for the trees. Yeah,
I posted on Twitter like their tears are smearing their smugness. Like,
did you really?
Yeah,
that's pretty
like
good.
It's just. I mean, it's satisfying. But you know, it's all a show. Well, I'm saying like it's satisfying to see them being held accountable.
I guess.
But you know, I almost like after watching that Painkiller show. Have you? I don't know if I finished it, but I think I'm pretty close. If I haven't, have you seen that at all? The Purdue Pharma Sackler show. I think on maybe Netflix or something.
Okay, it's a documentary.
Yeah,
not really.
It's a loose. I think there's a lot of dramatization going on, if that's a word.
Yeah, that is.
But like Matthew Broderick is in it, right?
Okay.
Like it's like actors.
I see. Okay. Oh, so it is drama. It is. They're reenacting. So.
Yeah, exactly. It's not like an academic
it's
or anything like that. But you know, you get these settlements or these payments being made out, and in this case, I'm sure like people will get in trouble, but they're still loaded. These people are still like ultra wealthy. So like, what does it matter? Okay, you pay out $2 billion, but you still have 12.
Are these the guys who are in charge of the not Ozempic,
the oxycodone,
the oxy, right?
These
are the guys who were basically leveled for, or at least the states came
out. The whole opioid epidemic, the whole thing. Yeah,
but the thing is, I mean, anytime. I almost wanted to do I had a story a while ago because I get annoyed with the settlement figures because the media goes crazy. They're like $1 billion. It's never even $1 billion. It's usually like $100 million settlement. And then you look up the company because they're publicly traded and you can make out that they earned that in an hour. The settlement, while it seems big to everybody else, is like
that's what I mean. It's not
being on the market.
The numbers are, in comparison to what anyone comes into contact with, large. But when you take into context their personal wealth, the company annual revenue, none of it matters. And a lot of these things are paid out over I think one of the first settlements was like over a decade or something.
Yeah,
and they can absorb that.
Years.
Yeah. So I'm only bringing that up because then you have these lawyers who, all right, they're going to have a plea deal. I don't know if they'll get any jail time, maybe just,
probation, most of
probation, right?
Well, and the last one the one that every news outlet seems to be covering, and I don't know, I'm not following it this closely, but the one she's like crying reading her statement about, and the thing is, even in her statement, she wasn't taking accountability, which is what I thought was
more senior lawyers.
She was basically doing the whole the Nazi trial thing. Where it was I was told to do this. Other people told me to do this. People I trusted told me to do it. As if you have.
I'm
no
guilty
conscience.
Of being naive, basically.
Right? Yeah, you're super naive. You're a well-paid, high-paid lawyer, well versed in the legal system, manipulating the legal system. This is what you went to school for, but somehow you didn't realize that what you were saying about election fraud was invalid. Somehow, even though most people watching it from the outside knew what was what, but you, for some reason, you educated person on the inside, were just told. You were just told. I was just told what to do. I was just following orders.
Doing her job. Yeah.
She gave the statement. It was basically saying, look, Judge, I'm so sorry this happened. I was just following orders.
And then the thing is, I mean, I don't know what her personal net wealth is, but she'll come out disbarred maybe from this.
She is disbarred. I
don't know. Is she?
She said
is she good? Has she made enough money? Is she good?
Oh, probably.
Yeah,
probably. I mean, who knows what the legal fees are? But all these people make their money. They make money back. They have investments. It's not like they don't usually.
I'm curious what will happen after this. Who she'll be carrying water for?
I never feel like you get that Trading Spaces. Remember the Eddie Murphy movie? You never get that Trading Spaces moment. It's not like you're walking down Times Square and there's like a Warren Buffett alike that is like homeless, and you're just like, holy crap, is that Warren Buffett? Is he homeless in the streets? Like
Randy and Mortimer.
Exactly. You
Randolph
never
and
get
Mortimer Duke, I think. Duke.
Yeah. I saw. I can't. Yeah, I can't remember their names. But my point is, you never get that moment. You never get the moment where you're someone does an expose on a former billionaire that is now wandering the streets because he's lost everything.
And
that
then
never happens.
But it's interesting. I don't know if this is fair. You tell me, but I was thinking about this before.
Yeah.
Why aren't sentencing guidelines more geared towards a percentage of your like net wealth versus two people can commit the same crime. One person is a billionaire, one person has $100,000 to their name.
Right.
And then it bankrupts that poor person and they are out, and the penalty hits them so much harder than someone who has, let's say, $1 billion, $1 million, whatever.
I will say this. I remember we were talking about this. It was a past episode. It was about the, I think it was the pharma suits in Texas where there's a cap. So some states have caps where you can't, like if it's a civil trial, no matter what the jury awards at the end of the trial, there's just a state cap on what can be paid out. And so
we have that with medical expenses. That's weird. We have that with legal sentencing and stuff, but we don't have it with medical expenses. No, that'll just cripple you. Okay.
Yeah, no. You need that lung transplant, and I'm sorry that's
you're homeless.
$500 million. There's the
you're homeless and you owe us.
Scalpel alone was $20,000. Have you ever looked at the itemized? I mean, people talk about this all the time. If people are listening outside of America,
isn't like an ambulance ride like $1,000 or something?
Yes, it is. It's like $5,000. Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
The itemization of, I mean, there's so many stories of people who don't have insurance. They've gotten some freak accident. They've literally lost an arm, and they're just begging people not to call the ambulance. They're just like, I can get an Uber. They're like, can you just tourniquet? I'll wait for the Uber. It's not that bad. It's like a Monty Python style.
Oh my God, it's
just a scratch. I'm waiting for the Uber. It's just a scratch. It's a $40 ride to the hospital versus the $6,000 ride to the ambulance. I'll risk it. I'd rather die than be leveled with medical debt that is, you can't even declare bankruptcy, I don't think, on that anymore. Medical debt. I think it's just non-dispersible. But anyway,
that's crazy.
I could be speaking out of turn, and we're all over the place now.
Yeah. All right.
We're like way.
Let's bring it back in. Let's bring it back in.
Out there.
So I
know you have a big thing. I was gonna.
I don't actually. I'm not doing the big thing. I'm doing actually a light thing. But.
Okay. Okay, that's why I was trying to jump in, like hopscotch style. I was trying to jump in before you went on your big thing.
Ahead,
I'm going to jump in now because I was already starting it. First of all, we had a really cool comment. Did you see that comment on the last video for Jim Jordan?
And what was it?
I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing it wrong. Louis Katz. Did you see her? Liddy.
I think I see all the comments. So
yeah. Well, I just love it. She was like, love it. You forgot Jim Jordan. Mm-hmm. She wrote Jim, and I was like, wow,
you've never
really
seen that?
Missed that.
That's
we missed that.
I didn't miss it. I intentionally didn't do it.
Oh wow. Well, that was a missed opportunity. Thanks for pointing that out.
Everyone does it. It's very common.
I just was surprised. I mean, I was coming up with all sorts of things, and we didn't do the
thing is.
GYM, by the way, I'm reading it, so it's Jim GYM.
Yes, GYM, Jim Jordan, and it's referencing his time as an assistant wrestling coach at, I think, Ohio State University. We covered it in the last episode, and obviously wrestlers are in the gym, so that's what it's talking about. I intentionally didn't put it in. One, I don't know how many people search for that, and sense. It is a slight against him, and. Yeah, what we did in that episode was highlight context and accusations, but that is more of a definitive, like, you're guilty type thing. So I just decided not to go that route.
Okay. All right, that makes sense. Well, I just wanted to bring it up because I was, I love it with I love engagement. So keep it coming. I thought it was a good comment. Love it.
Yeah.
Just wanted to shout that out. The other thing I was going to say is I thought this episode, I was like, all right, so last time we did Jim, now we're going to be all about Tom Emmer. And so I was going to text you when the story broke. It's like Tom Emmer is going to be the House Speaker. And then within 44 seconds, he dropped out. So I guess there's just no point. There's no point in even talking about anybody at this point. And I mean,
he lasted about a tenth of a Scaramucci.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's a good one. And they're saying, I mean, I don't want to believe this. I don't want to believe that by Trump coming against him, the party was like, no, you can't be the speaker. I don't want to believe that he has that much sway over the party to this day, because
Are
that
you
would be
kidding? Are you kidding?
well, I don't.
The
I
whole
mean,
party was against him in the beginning, and he steamrolled them all.
yeah, I know.
He
Well, I
made
know
fun of
that.
their
But,
wives,
oh yeah, I mean, he
their
took him to
physical
town.
appearances.
Oh,
He
poor,
belittled everyone on national television,
poor. What's
and
his
they
name?
all kissed his ring.
What was his name? Christie the dinner. He took
Well,
Christie out to dinner
Mitt
before.
Romney, he made kiss his ring at a steak dinner for the chance of being like, I don't know, Secretary of State or
Yeah,
something.
yeah, something
Didn't
like
get
that.
it.
Yeah.
The little Marco stuff. Who was it? Ted Cruz's wife. He like
Oh
railed
yeah, he
against.
railed into her. Yeah.
And all these people just sucked up to him after that, and still do. Oh my God, do they still do it?
Well, I mean, it's crazy.
You don't believe that he has that power? Look,
Well, I just figured that the
look
House.
at Lindsey Graham on January 6th, and then compared to January 7th. I mean, my God.
I just cannot believe a man standing trial right now was able to have that much influence to oust a speaker in the House. He's not even in the government. The man is not even in the government.
They go to Mar-a-Lago. They go there to receive orders, I can only assume.
Must be. And, the other thing I was going to say about the trial is that I was hoping, at least you're hoping, that it becomes sort of a warning. Like here's the thing. This is what I'm hoping this is what's happening. I'm hoping that the Justice Department is going after this, because it's the right thing to do legally, but mostly just to have all the people that were around him see that this man will not defend you and he will not come to your aid. So it's like he will leave you out to dry. He is only in it for himself, as sort of like
he hangs over the pardons, right? That's his thing. He's not going to do he can't do anything now, but he'll pardon you.
But he'll pardon everybody when he gets in. You think, really? Is that really the plan?
Well, I guess only on federal charges.
Right.
The state thing is a RICO case, right?
Yeah, that's right.
State level, so he can't do anything.
RICO. Yeah, so he can't help these people. So they're all just going down the river, and this man is just like, you know what? Every man for himself. And that's what I'm hoping. I'm hoping that the other people see that that's the kind of person he is, and there's no point in defending him or bringing him back into the fold. But I guess that's just not. That's not how people are viewing it.
I mean, that is the sadder version of that. The other version is you did illegal stuff. You all did illegal stuff for this person,
Right.
And you got caught.
Yeah.
Everyone should stop doing illegal things. That's what you want.
Oh, okay.
Not that, he's not going to bail me out. All right. I'm not going to support him anymore.
I was
going to do the illegal stuff still, but I'm not going to do it anymore.
I'm going with the more cynical ride on this, and that I feel like it's more of a don't touch this man if he is toxic, that he will not, if you do because here's the thing, I feel like the illegal stuff is going to happen. So it's better to just say you can't do the illegal stuff for this guy because he's not the Godfather. Like he's not going to hold you. He's not going to come to your aid. He's not going to do anything for you, basically. He's just going to send you down the river, and you're going to go down the river until you, yeah.
I was going to say, he's like the Midas touch, but with prison. Instead of turning to gold, you're going to go to prison.
That's the hope. That's what I'm hoping. I was hoping that he would be seen as prison Midas. That's kind of what I was going. That's what I'm edging out right now. But based on what you're saying, that's not going to be the case. So.
I mean, everyone's going to prison.
Well, probation mostly.
Yeah, you're right. So everyone's getting prosecuted.
I mean, but they're getting prosecuted.
Better way to say it is prosecuted, lose their livelihood, so now they're going to have to rebuild themselves in some way, which I'm sure someone will give them a book deal. Mm-hmm. But speaking engagements, God knows what. You hope that this is a deterrent. There are always opportunistic people. I mean, I don't see this dissuading people like the Roger Stones of the world or whatever you would consider Rudy Giuliani to be at this point. But you hope that the competent people will steer clear, the people that have a life worth living still. And then if he attracts the worst of the worst that will do his bidding and say whatever he wants, hopefully they're not competent enough to actually fulfill the function that they're hired for. I don't know. I got nothing else because he still does have people doing stuff for him. Rudy Giuliani's still staying strong.
Yeah, well,
I
I think
mean,
he's got his own problems. I'm not going to oust him, but I've heard,
well,
I've
that's
heard
the thing is
rumblings.
they all have problems. They all seem to have some problems.
Well, some more than others. Some more than others. Some people's problem is that they just want money and power. I think Rudy might actually have like a. I saw a report. I mean, they were saying that he might actually have some addiction issues, and that
Yeah,
might
it's
be coming
possible.
into play with some of the things that he's doing. So I don't know.
Yeah, everyone's got issues. I don't know. It could be addiction. It could be mental health. It could be financial strain. It could
Right.
be just plain old ambition. I mean, I don't know what it is. Yeah, I don't know. Seek help.
So back to your. So you have something you were bringing on, and what was that? It's not the big story, but it's a small story.
Yeah, it's like two small ones, and the first one's the smaller out of the two. So, what I wanted to do was also cover something that we saw some engagement on. This one's on Twitter, though. You were talking about a comment on YouTube, and I kind of wanted your opinion on this Twitter engagement because we seem to really strike a chord with this post, and folks quickly divided into two camps. Right, but it's a fun one. It's not too bad. So
why is it never three? Why is it always two?
I don't know.
It just always seems like it's. I'm just saying everything seems to divide.
I guess it's a binary choice,
right?
It's the way the cosmos were organized
in this country. That's the thing. We have no.
Maybe you'll have the third. Maybe you'll have the third camp.
There are always outliers.
Let's see.
Okay.
Let's see let's see if you can answer your own question.
Okay, fine.
Right? You're the one that posted. You
right.
don't have to go in one of the two camps. You can have a third camp. You can even make up additional camps on top of that. Let's see how many camps Antoine can come up with.
Mm-hmm. All right. Go for it.
All right. So it all started with an Elon Musk post that announced a new feature on X, formerly Twitter. If you share an article and haven't clicked on it yet, you will first be prompted to read the article before sharing it. Okay, that's the feature.
I like it. I mean, that's a good feature,
right? But it's okay.
Well, I mean,
I'm not going to taint it in any way right now.
Oh, okay.
So then, what I replied was maybe put a label on their post that they haven't read the article they reposted, so it's more public facing. Okay.
As long as this is being tracked appropriately. That's what
you would know in data if someone clicked on it. I mean, at any point in time, you know that we have.
But they could have read it in a different browser. They could have read it somewhere else.
Interesting point, Antoine. And then so I later amended my comment because it started. I mean, things got like a lot of comments and likes and stuff, at least for us. And I later amended it and replaced read with clicked. So it would really read, maybe put a label on the post they haven't clicked yet, right? So because a lot of people were saying that they could have read it on different platforms or read a similar article on the same story, but it's a different article, right? So all these different things. So all these different reasons why, my off-the-cuff comment was a terrible idea. Fair. I'm not taking any of it personally. Just thought this was really interesting. So what I want to say is that it was off the cuff. I didn't put a ton of thought into the comment, but I put it out in the public and the public responded. I'd also want to add that I don't find either feature to be necessary. I thought that they were both interesting, but let's just entertain the idea of this because it did stir up so much interest. So Camp 1 basically agrees with me that they think it's a great way to pressure people into reading an article, or it could identify uninformed individuals that are blindly reposting with little context for the article's content or accuracy. And then Camp 2, which was overwhelming. I mean, Camp 1, it was like me and a few other people, but Camp 2 was very vocal. And they kept going at Camp 1, regardless of what Camp 1 was saying. Camp 2 was saying that they often repost articles on topics they read elsewhere. So I saw it somewhere else. I went onto Twitter, found it, and reposted it, but it was a different article. Or maybe I read the same article, but on my app. Maybe it was an Associated Press article on Twitter, but I read it on my app, right? All fair stuff, which is why I changed it to click instead of read.
Well, I mean, and that was my initial reaction. I was like, yeah, I mean, someone could easily come across something in another place, read it, and then they want quick access, so they type it in to Twitter or something, and they're posting it from either a different account of the same story. It's like, let's say I read it on the BBC, and then I'm like, oh man, I really want to share this, and I look it up, and now it's on MSNBC, and I'm posting the MSNBC link, but I didn't read the MSNBC version. I read the BBC version, but it's the similar gist. I'm just saying that could be that seems very very likely.
And I totally get that, and that is a reasonable behavior that a lot of people exhibit. Heck, I probably have even done it at some point. What I would add to this is that I added that comment didn't click, and it's a factual statement in itself. It's highlighting that you did not click on the article that you reposted. I understand, but I don't think it's necessarily an implication that you haven't read it when they change the language, but it is, you have to take it very literally. I get it. The risk of those non-clicking reposters, though, is that you did read the article somewhere else. It is possible that this article could have been updated since you have read it, right? And now there's new info in there that you're not aware of, or that it is a different article on a similar topic, but you haven't validated this journalist's slant on it. And so I do, if we want to play the game and have the debate, I do still think it's worth saying that you have not validated this information that you are reposting, even though you may have read it earlier, the same article, or a different article on a similar on the same topic. I do still think that it's interesting. I don't think either of these are needed because people are going to believe what they believe, and I don't think we're in a headspace as a nation for this stuff to shift opinion and for it to matter. Yeah. But if people were that scrutinizing that big of a critical think,
that would be nice if they were.
Then I think that it would make a difference. That I didn't read this one. Thank you for that, safety net. Mm-hmm. And if they do decide to post it without clicking it / reading it, that the public knows that these people are just regurgitating something for various reasons.
But here's another thing. Here's another angle to this. The news knows that most people do not read the articles. And so the headline is usually telling you everything you might want to know necessarily about certain articles. Unless it's a deep think piece or something, long form journalism, something much, with a lot more girth to it. But your average 3-paragraph story from the New York Post, the headline, they specialize.
I get it.
In that. The headline is telling you
election night, Trump wins.
Yeah, exactly.
You kind of got.
Do I have to read that article?
I got it.
You're more. That's what I'm saying. You're more reposting for the headline as opposed to the article itself. And so in that world,
and that's when you didn't read it. Label is people brush it off and they're like, this person didn't read this article, but the headline says.
But the headline says everything,
and that's fine. And it's not a negative thing on them, right? It's not an implication that they are, some stooge.
Yeah, I'm not going to go after some guy. I'd be like, wow, what a buffoon! He didn't read this article that said Trump won. But
I'm telling you, Camp 2 hates the idea. So where do you fall? Camp 1, 2, or are you making up your own?
I did make up my own. I'm saying that the media dumbs their literature down enough where the headline is telling you everything. So I think it's a bit elitist to say that everyone must click into an article, read the 2 to 3 paragraphs on something quite simplistic before reposting it. They're reposting it for the headline because they're sharing the information that the media itself is I want to say commodify is not the right word, but they're condensing, they're distilling it down to be a headline because that's what they want. They want people just to repost it in order to get.
So you don't think either feature is needed? Your Camp 3 is
Camp 3.
Cool story. Neither feature is needed, nor the pre-post prompt or the post-post label.
I'm saying discourse in this country has reached the bar is so low that this is like playing. It's like playing chess when the base game is checkers. Checkers. I don't want to insult anyone who loves checkers, okay? But you get what I'm kind of putting it down. Game. Chess is the highfalutin version of if you're talking about the most simplest, simple old school board games. I'm just saying it's checkers. The country plays checkers, and these people are like, well, it's like bishop to a4. They're just like, what are you talking about? It's checkers out here. It's just it's none of this. We're not playing chess anymore. It's all checkers. So
all right.
I don't know.
Antoine is a Camp 3. There you go.
I'm a Camp 3. I'm saying
neither feature is needed.
It's not
I'm fine with
relevant.
that.
It's not relevant.
I am totally fine with that.
Because, I mean, come on. With all the garbage out there, really, that's what we're going to land on? We're going to land on talking about whether someone's lost integrity because they haven't been documented as having read an article that they're reposting. I mean, it's so funny. There's another level to this. It's not even like playing chess. It's the discourse is so low, especially on the internet. I just feel like you can't even start there. Anyway.
All right. So I'm going to move on.
Yeah, sure.
To a fun topic. Hopefully that one was a little bit of fun, but I'm going to make it a Halloween episode.
Oh, that's awesome.
I'm going to make it a Halloween episode.
I love the themed episode.
Right.
I gave up on themes because you were like,
No, we do themes. You do Thanksgiving.
I push for themes, but you're usually like, what's the point? No one's looking.
No, we could do
for
themes
Halloween content.
So I'm going to have a little bit of fun. We're going to do something on Halloween.
I hope it's a spooky episode. I did do my.
I might end on a spook.
Ooh, that'd be cool.
At least spooky for me. All right.
1, 2, 3.
Is it Sesame Street?
It's the cow. He's spooky. Spooky for kids.
Okay. All right. So I thought it would be interesting for our viewers to take a break from politics and climate change and all this serious stuff that we're all dealing with and learn a little bit about Halloween and its centuries-old symbolism. So according to the Library of Congress, Halloween has its immediate roots in the ancient Celtic celebration of Samhain. I'm going to say Samhain.
I mean, we're going to have to say that.
I'm going to go with it.
Neither of us speak Gaelic.
It's where we are right now. This is where we are. So that's what I'm going to go with. I'm going to say it a few times. Apologies if I'm getting it wrong.
Did you read the article?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, then you're fine.
Yeah. No, I read the article.
Yeah. At least you read the article.
Going with.
That's all that matters.
Right. So, Samhain, I'm going to go Samhain, which was the end of the harvest season when the veil between the spirit world and our own world is at its thinnest. So people would dress up, build bonfires to fend off ghosts. But the essence of observing this harvest time of the year dates back like thousands of years, like 6,500 years in Indo-European culture. And it is very Indo-European, this segment. So now Halloween might have started off as ancient and pagan, but Christianity wasn't about to let a good holiday go to waste as it swept across Europe. The church assimilated several holidays, a strategy started by Pope Gregory I in around 600 AD. For instance, the Roman pagan festival Saturnalia became Christmas. And likewise, Samhain became Halloween to make conversion easier for the locals.
And then, and Easter. It's all, those are all
right?
pagan holidays.
It's all part of their big strategy, right? So you don't have to give up your traditions, folks.
No,
you just have to change your allegiance.
Yes, that's right.
So,
you just incorporate ours. You don't have to give up your traditions. You just got to add what we're putting down and kind of make it the more prominent. But it depends. It's like a cum sa situation. It depends.
And it changes for different holidays.
How much power you have.
And it changes for different holidays. And I guess it's just easier to tweak it than abolish it altogether. Yeah. So in the 8th century, Pope Gregory III designated November 1st as a day to honor All Saints, which soon became All Saints' Day. The evening before All Saints' Day was referred to as All Hallows' Eve, which is when Samhain was. It was the eve. And this evolved, All Hallows' Eve, into Halloween. This is probably something many of us have heard before. So the locals got to keep their creepy Halloween stuff, dressing up and lighting bonfires. But now it got its Christian saints attached to it. So the next day, you could feel guilty from last night's pagan debauchery. I mean, that's kind of how I viewed it. Like, they really got you there. So skipping later, we'll dig into some creepy symbolism that we got to keep, right? So that's what I want to cover now. Bats are most likely tied to Halloween because of Bram Stoker's 1897 novel Dracula, and it's really just the creepiness of it. This is what is thought to have happened. Owls were birds of bad omens that fed on human flesh in Roman mythology, and in the Middle Ages, they were thought to be witches. The sound hoo signaled someone was about to die. This is what the people thought back then. Black cats were formally demonized by Pope Gregory IV when he published a church document stating that black cats were the incarnation of Satan. Can you imagine like the church doing something like that today? I mean, I know the church has done a lot of crazy stuff, but like the state of mind, it just like blows me away sometimes with people. In the 15th century, black cats were thought to be a witch's helper. Same goes for spiders, a witch's helper in medieval Europe. And similar to owls, witches were also thought to turn into ravens in the 1400s, an ability that allowed them to fly away and escape. And again, can you imagine seeing a raven or an owl and being like, oh, look, a witch is escaping? And I think people do stuff like that today. I'm just not superstitious. So I think it even goes beyond like a light superstition. I think they actually literally believed this stuff.
Are you taking liberty here? Do you know anyone in particular that, I mean, most, we have a lot of super, like, it's like, black cat cross your path, kind of stuff. I know. People say these things all the time. It doesn't necessarily mean that they believe it to be like fact.
I don't know. I don't, people believe in religion. So I
mean, people do superstitious things, especially baseball players. So, I mean, I guess it falls into that. Sure. Go on.
And but it's like there's no counter to it. It's like, how do you explain this stuff? Like, there's no.
It's like better. It's a better safe than sorry situation too. That's why most people keep doing it, because it's like, well, what's the harm? It's like you spill salt and throw it over your shoulder. It's like, well, what's the? It's like it's already wasted, right? What's the harm?
Sure. Yeah. Okay. It's like chicken soup. Okay. All right. Yeah. So in German folklore,
you also have to turn around and like slap your baby. I mean, I think most people are okay as long as it's something that's innocuous and doesn't harm anyone. They're like, yeah, what's the harm in it? But yeah, you're right. If it got a little more, some of the old school stuff is probably a little bit more hardcore, and that's the stuff most people probably have dropped. Things that
we'll get into some more hardcore stuff. But
okay,
in German folklore, witches rode ravens rather than brooms. And that part made me think of Monty Python and the Holy Grail with
had to be Monty Python
European swallow. Where I'm
that's
like,
where it comes from.
How does a witch ride a raven? Like, how does that actually work?
Ridiculous?
Like, it's like, were you guys not thinking? Was nobody thinking? Or did the raven grow? Like, how does any of that work?
That's in Monty Python. It's what is it? If she weighs more than a duck?
Oh, well, that's the witch thing.
That's the witch thing.
I was talking about when the guy goes to the castle and he has to answer a question to come in, and
African or
he asks about the swallow carrying the coconuts because he's like, how did you get coconuts? And he's like, there's a whole thing.
Well, the thing is, the movie. But that's funny. Well, I went to that. Now that joke makes more sense to me. Is she lighter than a? What is it? She's lighter than a bird, right?
Well, it's saying that the witch rides. The German folklore is a witch rides the raven,
right? Which means
she would have to be lighter.
She would have to be lighter than the bird.
I guess yes. If you were going to think it through and say, okay, she maintains that size,
right? She
needs to be lighter, and yes, that does go into she turned me into a newt segment of Monty Python, where
she has to be. That's what they get to. That's the reasoning. I mean, I think this is probably where they're getting it from. I mean, it just dawned on me, but this makes that joke much funnier. Yeah, if she's lighter than a bird, and then what do birds do? They float.
So well, that's not what they say. They're talking about wood floats, wood burns.
Is that what it was? So it didn't have anything to do with birds.
It had nothing to do with birds.
Oh, okay. So I'm misremembering that completely.
Yes, you are.
Okay, good. It's good to know. It's good to know. Last time I saw it, I was like 13. So it has been a long time.
All right. So that's all that symbolism stuff. But while we're talking about medieval Europe and witches, I do want to note that witchcraft was a rather harmless practice prior to the 14th and 15th centuries, which is medieval Europe for folks that might not know. And only after German Inquisitor Heinrich Kramer published the Malleus Maleficarum in 1487 were witches demonized and feared. And I didn't really know a lot of this history. This part was pretty interesting. So Kramer's book drew distinction between miracles, which were performed by saints in accordance with God or by God himself,
right?
Whereas magic was a private contract with the devil.
Correct.
Right? Yeah. Kramer outlined 3 distinct levels of offenses, with the slightest being a small secret group meeting, and the worst being basically respecting heresy, admiring heresy. And this was a text that was published like several times. It swept across Europe. And this created the image of the medieval witch, an evil woman the same image that we think of today when we think of witches. This is the dude responsible for that. And this is the text responsible for that. So he spread this image across Europe via the Malleus Maleficarum, and it was used to demonize women and only spurred more texts that further developed this persona into a malicious sorceress, that cast charms and spells, and that was equated to devil worshipping crimes. And, that led to a bunch of stuff, obviously, that we're all familiar with. And this was really just a useful ideological tool for the church to preach intolerance towards scapegoats, to explain social unrest, disease, natural disasters. So then I kind of pose that back to you, Antoine. How do you think they thought about this stuff? Like, it's all fun and games until you start burning people alive. The superstitions.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I mean, I know the facts of it. I mean, I don't know. Do you want me? Look, the way it plays out, based on what you're saying, and based on what I do know about that period in that history, is that a lot of paganism, a lot of it was matriarchal. I think is that the word I want? It's basically like women are kind of either not the head priest, that's not necessarily, but women held.
Did they control the money or something like
healers?
that?
I mean, I don't know about that. I don't know.
Maybe I'm getting cultures mixed up.
But with regard to like women were like the healers a lot of the time, and they basically held quite a bit. Like I don't want to oversell it, because I'm sure paganism had its machismo aspects to it as well, but to me, that feels like a power grab. It says it's like in paganism, women have a certain level of power, and if you want to strip them of all that power, well, the best way to do is to demonize them as part with that religion. Even though there were still many pagan men at that time, but if you're going to go after women in particular, and then you're going to flip the script in order to take power,
all you're doing is adding motive. All you're doing is adding motive behind it. You're adding, so you don't know the motive of labeling a black cat an agent of the devil, but you know the motive of labeling upstart women as witches.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's still, but my point is that they actually believed it. Like, they were at a state where they were like, yeah, that sounds right. Yeah.
Yeah. Well.
Yeah, that's definitely plausible.
If you're illiterate,
get her,
and you have very limited education, and the only education you're getting is from the church most often,
these people
why wouldn't you believe that?
Because there were no spells. It is like the Monty Python thing where he's like, she turned me into a newt. And then he looks at him and he's like, I got better. Like, it's like, what are you talking about? I mean, yes,
this is like
if there was any civil unrest or disease or anything, that all got blamed on them. So I guess that is a real output of a secret gathering where they're doing whatever they do, charms or whatever it is. So I guess that's something real that you could label it as. But
the same thing happened in Salem, and that's like 300 years later.
I agree. It's crazy.
Yeah.
I think it's fascinating to see how people will just buy into stuff without very little evidence.
There's an element of entertainment, unfortunately, with regard to it, especially at that time. Public executions, I mean, things of that nature weren't necessarily done to deter crime, because there was when people looked at the evidence, or when historians look at the evidence, there's no evidence that it was doing so. And I'm not sure that people at the time even really believed that. It's more about, well, this is a spectacle. There's no TV, there's no movies. The most interesting thing you could do is see someone get beheaded. So I'm saying that there is an element of sport to it.
Yeah, I guess it's fascinating to me not to cast judgment on people in the past, to say, you idiots.
Of course we can judge them.
What were you thinking?
Of course we can.
Well, I get it, but it is like, it doesn't serve any real purpose other than like whatever. But it's like, wow, we have this symbolism.
The people of the past.
We have this symbolism today. It like survived. It survived off of our own ignorance and is now a staple in our culture.
It's amazing.
We have these depictions of warded women in pointy hats that fly on broomsticks. I guess we get to the ravens. And it's just like, oh yeah, that's where that came from.
Well, we just love story, Yeah. Read Joseph Campbell's what is it? Man with 1,000 Faces. But I think human beings are oriented around story, and stories carry with us more than anything else, more than science, more than necessary. Religion, the reason religion is so impactful is because it's a series of stories, and people just it's just the way that we make sense of our world and make sense of ourselves. Not to get too philosophical about it, but when you frame it in that way, of course they're going to stay with us, even if they're being completely debunked, and it makes absolutely no sense to imagine a woman flying a raven, casting spells on the German folk of the 14th century. It's still it's a big enough spectacle that it would stay within the human like zeitgeist imagination. We would carry it forward to this day. I mean, when people think about the Odyssey,
but it's like it's known that like black cats get adopted less because of the superstition, right? Like,
yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's how ingrained it is. It stays with us. We just love a good
but
story.
but your comment, because that just popped into my head, but like your comment before was like, they're harmless, they're no big deal, they're horoscopes that no one takes seriously, but it's not.
Until
it
they
actually
don't.
does
Yeah,
influence decisions.
It does influence
and
decisions,
bias,
yeah.
even if it's unconscious bias.
You're absolutely right about that. Yeah.
So it's just, I don't know. I thought it'd be interesting to like dive a little deeper into like why these symbolisms exist, where they came from. Although we didn't get into all the history of it, it would be here forever. But folks, there are plenty of documentaries that go into a lot of detail. But I thought it was kind of interesting.
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
Well, I was just saying, it's sort of like our it's not Achilles heel. That's the funny thing. It's like without this like affliction towards misbelief in like things that are just outside the realm of science and things that cannot be explained. But the thing is, without that, we wouldn't basically endeavor to the heights that we in good times choose to do so. It's like a
double-edged sword.
Yes, that's exactly what I'm trying to get at. Exactly. Yeah. It's a necessary evil.
You're making the argument for war.
No.
War gives us all of our technological advancement today.
Yeah.
It's the same war.
Well, that's
the same
because
war argument.
Yeah. Well, there are other
the atrocities justify our imagination.
It justifies the means.
We'd never dream of the moon if we didn't slaughter all those people.
Well, yeah. That's unfortunate. Yeah.
But I get it. Like our imagination goes both ways. Yeah,
exactly.
It's
exactly. It's like we have to have it. It's you have to have that element of just
irrationality. Like, that non-linear thinking of based on everything we know today, this doesn't make sense. But
without it, we wouldn't make story.
It scares or inspires me into action.
Yeah, you have to be able to tap into it in order to tell stories, and without it, that's the thing. Even saying like, you look at a lot of storytellers. I mean, you look at Tolkien. I mean, these guys are professors. It's Professor Tolkien. I mean, these are very highly educated people that are telling grandiose, fairy tales of sorts. I mean, Tolkien might be a little bad example because people aren't too sure if he started to believe that his world actually existed near the end of his life. But let's just say that he did. C.S. Lewis, definitely his was made up, right? And without that element, you can't tell that kind of story. You have to be able to tap into to people who actually might believe in order to create a convincing story, something that will carry on for generations and people want to read and want to reenact and make other media off of it. At some level, you have to be able to tap into that. I believe it. And I have to write it as if I do believe it, because if you didn't write it, if J.R. Tolkien wrote The Hobbit thinking this was ridiculous, right? You wouldn't read it because it wouldn't, unless it's some sort of Gulliver's Travels.
You have to allow yourself to be entertained and enthralled with the fantasy. You have to be
the characters. You have to fall in love with the characters because the characters are written in a believable way. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, so you have to be able to tap into that same black cat, that same I'm saying there's like
you have to be able to love and understand Gandalf, but then when you put your pen down and you go out for lunch, you don't try and cast spells on everyone and
that's only
tell people they shall not pass.
It's only if you don't have a sense of humor.
Yeah, but you know what I mean. Like
I wish there were more stories of Tolkien standing at the entrance of a pub yelling, "Thou shalt not pass." Oh, shall not pass. I mean, that would be a really hilarious like Tolkien story. I wish he did that.
He could have been the guy that collects tickets.
He could have.
all these things. All right. Anyway, so that's that. I do have another short one to wrap us up.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. So it's Halloween episode. Let's keep this train moving. I figured why not close out with something that scares me. So, Antoine, how do you deal with spiders in your house?
You know, it's a funny story. My wife hates them and demands that I kill them. But culturally, this is gonna speak to the theme. I grew up, I'm first generation Jamaican, and in Jamaica, at least what the way I grew up, and maybe other Jamaicans, it's a different world, but I grew up where spiders were like good luck, and you didn't kill them because they killed flies, they killed they kill the mosquitoes, and
Yes.
it's funny because when you think about
Logically,
that now,
if you have spiders, that means you have bugs because they're feeding off of them, so they are keeping the bugs away.
So they're keeping the bugs away, and so
that is totally rational.
Well, it is rational, but that's not the way it was interpreted down to me. It was more interpreted that they were like, it's like bad luck to kill a spider, even though that's
because probably back in the day, you guys were all idiots, and someone probably tried to tell you that, and you're like, I don't understand what you're talking about. And they're like, it's good luck, and you'd be like, oh. Just like all that,
or maybe there was just an undercurrent of understanding that in hot climates you were more likely to have bugs that could pass on disease, and then spiders in your house.
But you weren't told that. You were told the luck thing. That's what I'm talking about. You had to dumb it down.
Undercurrent, because it's a better story. But the undercurrent is to understand that like flies can pass malaria, and therefore having spiders helps mitigate.
It's these ancient things that we didn't know why they worked or didn't, and we came up with these superstitions around it.
Well, you had a base understanding. Well, that's the thing. I don't want to discredit the ancestors in this way because there was still a basic understanding. We covered it. We covered the how Africans dealt with malaria.
Inoculation.
Inoculation. Yeah. But
I mean, we didn't say that they were doing it because it was lucky. They understood
that. But I'm just saying
there's an observational science there where, okay, if we intentionally give you malaria, was it? I can't remember exactly which one. No, it wasn't that. No, it was smallpox.
Oh, was it smallpox? Yeah,
maybe. God, I don't know. Maybe it wasn't. Oh man, that's so bad. I can't remember right now. Quizzing me, pop quiz. But
everyone go back and look at it.
They understood that if you expose someone to small doses, then their likelihood of not contracting the disease, or at least a mild version, survivable version.
I'm just saying there had to be there are stories at some point. My point is, in order to pass on that information, usually you tell stories.
That's fair. That's fair.
That's just because it's the easiest way to have people understand it without having to get into all the tech, like to say, hey, look, believe me, I know it looks
stories weird. Is that every time they're told, they get sensationalized and they probably lose a little bit. And
which is where you get to just the base of it, which is, hey, spiders are good luck. I don't have to explain to you why. They're just good luck. Don't kill them.
My grandfather told me why. I can't really remember. But you want them to shut up and listen to the story.
Just eat the corn. Shut up and eat the corn. So go. What's your thing? What do you have to say about spiders? So I've been saying you didn't know that, but I just tapped into yes. I'm very reluctant to kill them because I have this like innate growing up feeling that spiders are basically harmless and that if they're in your home, they're doing a service. Because mostly we don't live in Australia, by the way, everyone. So the spiders in North America don't usually kill you. They don't. You can't bite. They're too small to actually penetrate human skin, so they're relatively harmless. So really, when people kill them, they're killing them because they just don't like the way they look.
Yeah. The funny thing is I know all of this stuff. What I do is I look at them and I basically say, if you stay away from me, then I'll leave you alone. But if they do get close, I do feel compelled to take action, and it's unreasonable.
Yeah,
I'm terrified. It's totally irrational, and I'm terrified. I'm acting out my most primitive instinct, my most primal instinct.
Yeah, from a bygone era, a time where spiders were wherever. Yeah, might have been dangerous.
I don't know what it is, and I will use a half a roll of toilet paper or paper towels, and I will crush them, and I'm not even sure if I get them. I just don't see it when I pick it up, and I don't even look. I just kind of throw the whole thing out, and I'm like calling it a day. My wife will relocate them to another area. So she's very good. She is a much better human than I am.
Much more rational. Not
Yeah.
better human. She's just more rational. She understands that there's little to no danger and they're making you feel uncomfortable. So she's as a person that cares about you, she's going to assuage this discomfort by relocating this harmless creature to a further destination so that they no longer cause you extreme anxiety. That's a very lovely, rational thing that your wife is engaging in.
She even has these 2 cups she uses for the insects.
That's so nice. That's
and
so nice.
moves them
See,
out.
I just don't have that patience. I would love to do the same thing, but it's just far easier to kill them if they are making my significant other uncomfortable, which hurts me inside because I would just walk on by. I wouldn't even bother.
Yeah, I'd really try to. I really say, like, just please don't come over here. Please just stay over there. Do your thing. Just don't get too close to me. I do say these things out loud sometimes. And yeah, that's a thing. But anyway, so why do I bring this up? Well, apparently this time of year is spider season. And so here are some spider facts to set the scary seasonal mood. The spiders you're seeing around your house are most likely males. Females are usually more sedentary, and the males are running around like crazy trying to find the females. So if you're wondering, why, God, are you tormenting me with your presence, demon from hell? It's because they're trying to get laid. That's basically what's going on here.
And what you're doing is killing these poor gentlemen that are just trying to get it in.
Just trying to do their thing. Just trying to do the one thing they were put here to do, and we are robbing that from them. At least I am. So
it's kind of like walking down it's like going to Amsterdam's red light district and just like offing guys just trying to get into
it's like a giant windows. Just stepping on people.
Yeah, basically that's what I'm saying. Yeah, there's every time they go to the red light district, this giant just comes, he starts whacking, dispersing people, dismembering them, because it's just like, I just don't like you. I don't like you near this area.
That's right. So now
they're just trying to get there. You know, it's trying to get it up. Just trying to get it up.
And I know all of this now, and I will still behave the same way. I need to work on myself. But
you do, because the whole point of knowledge is to take it and change, sort of flip the script, if you will, in terms of our orientation toward the world. What good is it if we attain knowledge, which is a question of the modern age? What good is knowledge if you're giving it and you just choose to ignore it? Which is why we're in a lot of the crap.
We all have our issues. Honest. We are all hypocrites. No one is perfect.
As long as
is an admitted opportunity for improvement for me. Okay. This is an area that I can improve, and I am sharing it with everyone. Yeah. So this article that I read, they gave me all this spider information. It was UK focused, and it said, for you UK listeners out there, that UK house spiders descend from species originating in the Mediterranean or North Africa, which apparently is why they prefer our warm, dry homes as opposed to the wet garden, which is also why those larger spiders generally don't come indoors. And I assume it's the same in the US, but in my home, I can only speak for myself. My spiders are enormous and they scare me. My wife doesn't think they're huge, but they are enormous.
Could you give the listener a little bit of scale?
I think they are the size. I think they are the size of my hand. My wife has yet
tarantulas.
My wife has yet to see them. After I say it's over there, it's over there. Mm-hmm. She goes to look and she's like, I don't see it, but because they scurry.
Okay. It's good to know that you think they're the size of a grown man's hand, which is like it's like a tarantula, like a furry-based spider, something you'd find in the outback in Australia, maybe, or the Amazon.
Listen, I don't sit there and study it like Darwin. I see it. It's casting a shadow. Mm. It's moving.
Wow, it's got a shadow too.
Yeah, it's got all the things. It's got all the things that would freak you out.
I think it's funny that we live in the same state, and I don't think I've ever seen a spider that was necessarily, aside from a daddy long legs, that was bigger than my fingernail. So it's interesting. It's interesting to grow up in the same area and just have completely differing accounts with regard to the species that
it must be sub-regional. It's a sub-regional thing. Must
be located to just Casa de Jamie.
So here's an interesting stat. It's the last thing I'll say.
Okay.
Apparently, even the smallest house has around 40 spiders living there, crawling where you can't even see them.
Absolutely.
But that can jump into the thousands with only a modest increase in square footage.
Okay.
So sleep tight, everybody.
And not everyone's as freaked out by this as you are. That's fine.
Can you imagine thousands of spiders in your house right now?
That's perfectly acceptable. That's thousands of spiders keep mosquitoes off of me. I love it.
They bite
and other
too.
bugs. I just don't want
spiders bite too.
You know, it's so funny. They do. Some do. I need to look at which ones can actually, because most are not strong enough to actually pierce skin. And usually, yeah, I feel like when people are like, it's a spider bite, it's like, no, it's most likely not. But yeah, you know what? I could be wrong. I could be wrong.
Is this my own superstition? Is this my superstition? This is my idiotic superstition.
I mean, my wife has played it in the past. She's like, this is a spider bite. And I'm like, no, it's probably not. I've never been bitten by a spider, so I cannot use my own.
What about the claim where you're like swallowing 7 spiders a year or whatever it is?
Oh, that is complete superstition. That's not real.
I think we covered that on the pod before, actually, and it isn't. It's like
it's
skewed by like Australia or something like that.
Something ridiculous. Yeah, it's not real at all.
Yeah. All right.
Anyway. But hey, spooky! Happy Halloween! You have thousands of spiders in your house.
It's spooky to me.
Do you just like do you squeal at arachnophobia? Can you not watch that movie?
I can watch the movie. I don't mind. I don't get freaked out by that type of thing. But if there is a real spider next to me, in fact, it's bugs in general. Bugs are it could be like a snake. I wouldn't even care. It's bugs in general. It doesn't even matter what it is, minus like a fly or a bee or something. Like bees, wasps, all that stuff doesn't bother me. It's the creepy crawlies.
So the ones that actually can hurt you.
It's the water
bugs that can hurt you. You've no problem with that. I mean, this is a true definition of irrationality here. The bugs that can actually harm you and cause severe pain, allergic reactions, things of like that could have varying consequences. Those bugs, they land next to you. You're like, you know what? I'm fine. They're having their day. I'm having my day. We're good. We're good. We're simpatico. We're thick as thieves. But a bug that cannot harm you in any way, shape, or form, that's the bug you're going to go out of your way to vacate the premises. It's good to know. It's good to know how irrational this is.
There's a fuzzy caterpillar or some type of centipede type thing.
You are really taking this to the next level. I would never have assumed that caterpillars would do you in. I mean, that's really absurd.
Can look at it from a distance.
Wow.
I can respect it at a distance.
They feel so fuzzy.
Oh God, no.
Fuzzy feeling. I love it.
No, it's not for me.
All right.
Anyway, I'm sure someone listening shares that.
Okay. Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween, everybody.
Happy Halloween. So in the vein of Halloween, this keeps coming across my feed. There's like either the media is just a little bit more obsessed, because I doubt it's necessarily something that is blowing up. But are you aware of, like, I guess the uptick in mer people?
I'm not even sure how to answer that.
No, you can. Of course you can. Just shut in the dark.
To take your question at face value, no, I'm not aware of the uptake, but that would also presume that I am accepting the premise of the question. That would imply that I believe that there are mer people.
It's not real mer people. It's people who have made their profession to be mermaids. So, and it's called mercore.
Can they breathe underwater?
No, of course they can't. I mean, this is ridiculous. You're being absurd. Of course they can't breathe underwater.
So they're just swimming.
Well, yeah, with tails.
Am I aware of the uptake of swimmers?
Well, with tails.
Who make it harder because they bind their feet together? Yeah.
In order to give off the impression that they are aquatic, like, what is it? Anthropomorphic.
Do they live by a code of
we're about to find out. All right. So let's listen in. Let's listen in. I love a good video. Let's listen in. ABC News. Mermaid enthusiasts dive into the mercore trend.
Okay, so they're human with fishtails, and the mythical creatures of the sea now making waves on the big screen, social media, and in real life. ABC's Janae Norman takes a deep dive into mermaid mania.
Mermaids are having a moment. From Disney's live-action Little Mermaid star Halle Bailey showing off red carpet looks inspired by her character Ariel to Netflix's docuseries Merpeople.
You get it? You get what's going on now?
Okay, so they're not swimmers. They're not in the ocean. Who are these
Sometimes
people?
they are.
Who are these people lounging at children's splash parks?
They're there for entertainment. They're there to be the
Someone
merpeople.
paying them to be there? Or are they just showing up?
Sometimes probably just showing up too. Could be. I feel like they took a little liberties going with the Little Mermaid. I mean, this thing has been around for a while. I mean, we've had people have dressed up as mermaids. I mean, there's like the famous tank in I want to say it's like Dubai or something.
I mean, I'm going to be honest. If I went, because my township has a splash park,
Okay.
and it's nice. There we go. And if I went and the township paid an actor or actress to dress up like a mermaid or merman, fine. If some random person from the area came and did that, not fine.
You're not okay with the initiative to say I want to be a mer person at this children's park
without any vetting of who this person is and how they're going to be held accountable if something goes wrong. No.
What harm? You said it yourself. This person is bound. Their legs are bound within a fish. A fish costume.
That was my comment. If people were taking it for real and wanted to really get into it, I don't know if that's bound. That could be tissue paper holding their legs together. They could just bust through at any moment. I am not letting my child lay with a half-naked adult in a splash park who's dressed like a mermaid. Like, I'm not doing that. No.
Let's continue.
But it turns out this isn't just a fishy fairy tale, it's big business too, as people are turning their obsession into a serious hobby, some even making a career out of it. The mermaid industry now worth over an estimated $150 million.
You know who wouldn't be into that? You know who'd be losing out on money? This guy across from me.
No. So what you just showed me now are people being paid to go to aquariums.
Yeah.
And a water park.
Yep.
The people on the beach, I don't know what that was.
Well, you got to start somewhere. I'm just saying, you're not going to just start making money overnight by dressing up like a fish. You gotta. There's got to be some, like, you got to get some social media. There's a point where you have to be doing it for free. Get a following.
All right,
and then maybe
get away from the actual exchange of money. You need to be hired.
I'm saying there's no way that you could just do that all the time. You got to be able to just show up somewhere and take some pictures and say, hey, look, I'm a mer person. Look at me, have fun as a mer person. And you're probably in a group. The listener's not going to be able to see
dressed up like Santa Claus walking down the street saying, who wants to sit on my lap? No one does that. That's not.
Why are you making it creepy?
Because it is. If
that's not what they're doing.
If that's what is going on now, like I said, if
no mer person was asking for a little child to come and stroke their tail. That didn't happen. None of that happened. These are people who love, and they said it. The news said it's a hobby, and the people are taking it to the next level. Like everything else in this world, they're figuring out how to monetize.
And listen, if the positioning that I'm putting out there, that these people are randomly showing up to places with children and trying to coax them into engagement is incorrect, fine. That's the only thing I have a problem with. If they are being solicited to show up, if they are being hired to show up, then that is fine. That is normal behavior.
Explain what cosplay is.
So it's short for costume play. It is dressing up in character in a community of other people who are doing something similar.
The community of mermaids has grown exponentially since I started.
Hannah Burgess is just one of those enthusiasts riding the wave. We first met her in 2017 when she was mermaiding for her social media accounts and at small gatherings.
Being a mermaid means being the bridge of fantasy and reality.
And now she's making money. You see that? Look, they met her back before she was getting paid. So she had to go somewhere to do mermaiding for free.
You just have to audition and say, hey, I'm a mermaid. Do you want me to show up to your aquarium, water park, kid's birthday party, whatever it is? And yeah, here's me. hanging out in my backyard doing my thing, and this is what I could do for you. That's not a big deal. I support that. I saw mermaids at a water park and the aquarium. My kids went nuts. They love the Little Mermaid. That is
so what are you doing this for?
Well, I asked you in the beginning because all you showed me, first you positioned it as like people going for swims in the ocean.
Well, that's where your imagination took it.
That is where my imagination went, because you said there's an uptake in mermaids. Like,
she said that since she's been a mermaid, she has noticed an exponential growth.
She's not a
mermaid.
mermaid. She's not a mermaid. She's dressing up like a mermaid. That is like saying there's an uptick in Mickey Mouse. Like, it's people dressing up as Mickey Mouse. It is not a culture of people believing they are Mickey Mouse. The way that you asked me the question, were you aware of an uptake in mer people, is not the same as were you aware of the uptick in mermaid costume actors or something like that.
People are called. Look, she said that she, when they're mermaids, they're mermaids.
No rule. Even when I asked you if there's a set of rules that they're living by, no, it's a business. You totally steered the conversation into a weird place.
Look, it's
and
Halloween.
Then you showed me pictures of them laying at kiddie parks.
That's what the media showed me. I mean, that's just
no. You did not. You did not position this correctly.
Okay, fine. Maybe it was a little misrepresentation. Maybe it was a little misdirection. All I just thought it was an interesting story. It's a trend, and I'm always interested. I'm like, Jamie, would you do it if you're being paid?
I would never. No, I don't even like dance in public. No, I don't do any of that.
True.
So I don't do that. I would never do this. I mean, maybe if you were going to pay me like millions of dollars, and I can.
They said 150. Well, I mean, that's the industry in general, but
no, like I am not performative in that way. We don't do live shows for a reason. That is not my thing. But all the credit to the people that can do this, and the kids do love it. And if they're responsible people being hired and all that stuff, that's wonderful and good for them. And I love the fantasy stuff. I mean, heck, I love theme parks and Disney World and all that kind of stuff. The more you can stoke imagination, the better.
For others, the best part of being a mermaid is the community they've found.
You are never too old to be mer-amazing. I'll be 70 in 3 months.
I believe there's a little mermaid in all of us. I have autism. With autism, we have sensory issues. So like the water is very soothing and very comfortable.
As a mermaid, your mindset can be whatever motivates you or anything, but my mindset is just to have fun and be confident.
I love it. It's so wholesome. I just tried to. It's look at that. That's awesome.
I don't know what the mindset is. Like, that's fine. And some of those people are young, and they're like, the mindset of being a mermaid. Like, I don't know what that means.
The woman who's 70. I mean, she's living it up. I mean,
listen. Having fun and doing that is one thing. It's fine. I don't have a problem with it. They're not hurting anybody. It is a very harmless hobby.
Look how judgmental you were in the beginning.
Well, you made it seem like they were treading that water towards the end there, where they're like identifying as in like that mental way of saying, as a mermaid, I can be this, where it's like you can be whatever you want without being a mermaid, but
you could be even more while being a mermaid.
I don't know. That wave hit that one lady in the face. It looked like she started choking. But
it's not easy. It's not easy. I'll tell you that much.
I can't imagine. Listen, as someone who is an avid scuba diver, which it's funny, one of the methods you can use to swim is to almost mimic what you would consider maybe to be a mermaid, where you're keeping your legs together and flapping in synchronization with your arms tucked under you. Makes you more streamlined. To have your feet bound in the ocean that is a terrifying thing. Like, the ocean is immense, it is powerful, and to be restricted in any way would be a terrifying thing. So, it's just.
I mean, I think that's why we see them mostly at these
they're laying on the shore. Not one of those people, except for the aquarium, were actually in water.
Yeah, which I think is probably Vegas or something. Yeah.
Yeah, and they are probably pros. They know how to swim, similar to the thing I was just talking about with scuba diving. Like, there's a way to do it, and they did have oxygen attached to them, so they there's no real struggle there. And it's an aquarium. There's no current. There's no waves. There's no disturbance, you don't want to do that in an ocean.
Yeah.
That would be very, very dangerous.
I mean, this is. I thought it rounded out a Halloween episode. I was like, it's a story that's been sitting in my backpack for a little bit, and I was like, if you're going to talk about costume people, I'm going to talk about costume
people having fun. It's fine. It's all good.
Well, JB, is that the Halloween episode?
Yeah, I think so.
All right,
guys.
Tell them where they can find us.
Folks, we have new clips out every week. Fridays are the full episodes. Like and subscribe to us on YouTube, Twitter, or wherever you listen to podcasts.
And with that, spooky.
That's lame.
Halloween.
You got to do a much better one. Much better. Just pretend you're a mermaid, Antoine. Explore yourself.
I'm splashing around. The listener can't see. I'm bounding up and I'm just splashing around. Splish, splash. I'm a tick in the bath. I'm a merman. With that,
you said that sassy.
Retraction. Oh.